Hey guys, Jason here from the EverRise team, and today I'll be talking with Dionysus on how best to keep your online information safe and how to keep your DeFi wallet secure. Joining me today, I've got Dionysus from the EverRise mod team with me to talk about security issues in the DeFi space and how investors coming from centralized exchanges or new time investors to crypto, how they may fall victim to scams and nefarious people on in the crypto world that may be after trying to gain access to their wallets. Dionysus, I also want to say thank you for joining me today to discuss this. Can you give me a bit of a background on who you are and what your expertise in the security field is?
Yeah, of course. Well, thanks. First of all, thanks for inviting me today. As a bit of a background, I think I'm one of the newer moderators on the EverRise team, and my background is in risk management and information security. And I've been doing that for about 10 years now, and also in that capacity, I've also been asked to join this call.
Yeah, because I know you've been also doing weekly AMAs regarding security as well in the Telegram group, haven't you?
Yeah, that's correct. We did the first one a couple of weeks ago, and the intention is to do that on a periodic basis going forward, because it's very important that we continue to educate our investors on security.
Do you think that security is something that's an afterthought for a lot of investors coming into not just crypto, but into DeFi as a whole? Because, people are very keen to find the next great token or join a project that they're excited about. Do you think that security is often at the back of their minds?
Yeah, I think it's often overlooked, and it's often not really on top of most people's minds before something happens. So usually when it comes to security, and I see that in my daily work as well, it's always seen as a sort of impediment or something that just delays the regular process. It's just something that is not making you money, and as a result, it's not the biggest priority until something happens.
Exactly. That's the typical saying, isn't it? I never thought that it would happen to me until it did.
Precisely.
I've spoken to a few people that have fallen victim of certain hacks and scams of their wallets, and the concurring theme is that literally they were innocently browsing to a website, or they were they literally happens within seconds. But we'll cover that. We've got some kind of points that we wanted to cover in today's video. We want to kind of aim this to not just new but current investors in the DeFi space. Obviously, especially people coming from centralized exchanges, who are new to DeFi and what that means for their investment. I just want to kind of start off really with like someone that's used to being on, say, Binance or Coinbase or crypto.com with their wallet that's on there. It's technically not a real wallet. It's kind of like just secured on their exchange, right? So it's what difference is the risk of having your money on an exchange compared to having your money, say, in Trust Wallet or MetaMask?
Yeah, it's a very, very good question, and the short answer to that is it depends. But all kidding aside, let me explain it. So first of all, there are factors that you can control as an individual, and we can talk about them in a little more detail. But for example, making sure that you use strong and unique passwords and using two-factor authentication. And so that way, as an individual, that is something you can do to keep your exchange account safe. But then the thing with centralized exchanges is that there are many factors that are beyond your control. Of course, the exchanges will say they will take security very seriously, and some may even explain what security measures they take, which could include the use of cold wallets or some kind of insurance policy to keep you safe as an investor. But the thing with this is that there's no way for you as an individual to verify all of this. So you basically have to take the word for it. And with centralized exchanges, you do not have the keys to your tokens. So you don't control them. And the only thing you basically have is the promise from the exchange that when you want to access your coins, they will let you do it. And you might be familiar with the expression, not your keys, not your coins.
Yeah. And there has been cases of exchanges being compromised and wallets being accessed, funds being withdrawn. But obviously there is, being under an exchange, especially the larger exchange, they do, they do provide that support if that such thing happens to remedy the situation. Is that right?
Exactly, yeah. And that's, again, that's a promise they make. And there's no way for us to be sure that they will always fulfill that promise. But it might be good to also, let's compare this with storing your funds on your own wallet.
Absolutely. Yeah, so if you've got, you just bought your Bitcoin or your major altcoins, or you've just moved into DeFi and you've got yourself some EverRise, which you can't get on a centralized exchange. You've got no choice but to have your own personal wallet on Trust Wallet or MetaMask or a cold wallet, SafePal. Let's move on to to having your own personal wallet.
Yeah, so if you when you have your own wallet, you control that wallet. You hold the keys to your coins, which means that you are also solely responsible to keep this wallet safe. But on the flip side, you don't have to rely on third parties to keep you safe. So you are in control. You are the one responsible for keeping your investment safe. So maybe to circle back to the initial question, does having your money on an exchange lower the risk of your funds being stolen? Well, in the end, there's no universal answer to that. So it really depends on the security measures that you take as an individual, but also depends on your risk appetite when it comes to third parties. So in other words, how comfortable are you with trusting an exchange?
And obviously different exchanges have got different levels of, there's different tiers of exchanges. The larger exchanges have got a better track record, for example, whereas some of the less known exchanges or more obscure exchanges you probably should be a bit more aware of, right?
And things to look for are, a big one is make sure that the exchange stores a significant amount of the tokens under their custody on cold wallets. So that means that a large part of the funds that they manage is not directly connected to the internet, basically. So that way, if they get breached, only a small portion of the user funds is at risk at any given moment of time.
That's great. Well, thank you for explaining that. Moving on to the next topic that we want to talk about. What are the top 3 things that you can think of that you can do to keep your wallet safe? Like, if you just downloaded a software wallet right now, what would you say are the top 3 things?
Yeah, I see. When we talk about wallet security, I think it's very important to emphasize that your tokens are always stored on the blockchain. So they are not physically stored in your wallet, and your wallet is essentially just a set of keys that allow you to access your token on the blockchain. And it's also an interface to be able to interact with your tokens on the blockchain. So that's a very important concept to understand when we talk about wallet security.
Yeah.
And maybe the first basic thing to remember, and we keep repeating this, of course, in the chat and in each voice call, but never, ever share your seed phrase with anyone. So
that's the 12-word phrase that you get when you sign up and set up a wallet for the first time, right?
Exactly. It can be anywhere, I believe, between 12 and 24 words, depending on your exact wallet.
Right.
And you can view that as the keys to your wallet. So anyone who have those keys can access and transfer all your tokens. So never give it away. We, as an EverRise team, will never ask for your seed phrase. It's something that only you should know.
Yeah, because people get reached out in DMs, in Telegram, in Discord, on social media all the time, claiming to be messaged by someone from a support team of a project, or even Trust Wallet support scams that you see all over the social media. And I think it's really important that we get this message out right to everyone that's viewing this video, whether or not you're invested in EverRise or not. We care about your security. If you're in DeFi, you should never, ever reveal any of your seed phrase to anyone. There's no reason that anyone should want access to your seed phrase or ask you questions about it. Your wallet is yours and yours only. And that's a really good thing to bring up, Dionysus.
Exactly. And and the second thing to remember is that also about your seed phrase, never store your seed phrase in clear text, so that means unencrypted, on any electronic device. So to make that more concrete, this means that do not make a photo of your seed phrase and then store it on your iPhone or hard drive, for example, because it will get automatically uploaded to something like Dropbox or OneDrive or iCloud. And that way it's exposed. It may be exposed to the internet.
So what's the best thing you can do with your seed phrase then? Because myself personally, I've written that down in a biro and I've put it in a file that's in with all my other important documents in somewhere in my house, in a safe. What would you say to people listening or watching right now, what they should be doing with their seed phrase to make sure that it's safe?
Yeah, exactly like you say, writing it down on a piece of paper and storing it in a secure location. That's the way to go. And I usually recommend to store a second copy at a different physical location. So that way you also protect your seed phrase against environmental risk, such as fires or flooding. There are also great things available such as crypto steel. Crypto steel, for example, allows you to physically store your seed phrase on a piece of metal, and this also helps to keep it safe in case of environmental threats.
And you obviously you could get a safety deposit box or PO box, something like that. You could store it in that sort of, if you feel comfortable doing that, that's another option, right?
Precisely, yeah, precisely. And the key thing to remember here is that basically everything you store unencrypted on an electronic device is insecure by default.
Yeah. You should never think that your mobile phone is secure. That's definitely the case. Do we have a third thing to talk about when it comes about keeping your wallet safe?
Yeah, also be very mindful of connecting your wallets to websites you don't fully trust. And certainly do not approve any transactions on untrusted websites.
Yeah.
And an easy way to keep yourself safe, also in case of, let's say someone sends you a link to PancakeSwap. Well, don't click it. Instead, go to your browser manually and access the link you can trust. So that way, you know that you are taking to the trusted PancakeSwap.
Yeah, well,
And you
this is a great point you actually raised, because there was a community member recently that's literally this has happened to. They went to a cloned version of PancakeSwap, which I'll tell you straight from the bat, it was basically on their iPhone. The app store removed. Well, I think the dApps were removed off of the iPhone version of Trust Wallet, so that you have to use a Wallet Connect in order to connect your wallet. And I think what happened was that he went to Google on his Safari browser, and this scam version of PancakeSwap basically paid for ads on Google to be listed towards the top of the search results. And he clicked on the ad and he went straight to PancakeSwap, and it looked just the same as any other PancakeSwap. I think it was just something very minuscule in the URL that had changed that you couldn't obviously see. And obviously being on mobile, you just click the link and you don't really necessarily see the full address anyway when you're on mobile. And he went onto it, connected his wallet as per normal, and immediately, the moment he connected his wallet, it just completely drained his wallet of all of his tokens. So this is a really common way of losing your wallet content immediately without with just one click of the button.
Yeah, that's a good point. And we are not sitting still when it comes to security, but scammers and malicious actors are certainly not sitting still when it comes to developing new things of scamming people.
Yeah, you should never feel safe when it comes to holding crypto. You should always be very cautious about what websites you go to, when you open the app, what you do with your app when you've got your app open or you're using your device that has your funds on it. It's your safety and security relies on you and your behavior and how you conduct yourself with that responsibility. That was we covered the wallets, but what are the top 3 things that as an investor I can do to improve my online security? Not just limited to DeFi or crypto, but just in general, to keep myself safe.
Yeah, I see. So what I always recommend everybody is to enable two-factor authentication on all your accounts that support this. So let's explore what that means. So two-factor authentication means that besides your password, you need another factor in order to log into your account. And if we look at authentication in general, that can be done through something you know, which is like a password, something you have, which could be an app or a physical device that generates unique codes, or something you are, like a fingerprint or a iris scan. So usually how two-factor authentication is configured is with something like Google Authenticator or Authy. And those are apps that you install on your phone, and they generate a unique time-based code. So each time, or at least periodically, when you want to log into your accounts, your password alone is not sufficient. It needs that second factor, which is something you have, besides something you know, your password. And then even if somebody were to obtain your password, they still need that second factor. So that significantly reduces the risk that you're being compromised.
Absolutely. And also it gives you an alarm bell, because in the past I've received a text saying that log in for, say, a website or an app or something like that, that's alerted me to the fact that my password may have been, in the hands of someone else. So then I can just basically generate a new password. And it might have turned out that my wife is trying to log in. That's generally what it is. But it just alerts you to the fact that your account is being accessed as well. So it works two ways. It gives you that extra layer of security, knowing that someone can't just walk in into your account with your password, but also it gives you that heads up that you need to look at it when that text message comes through or the authentication alert comes through on Google.
Exactly, that's a good point, and it's also really easy to set up. 99% of the time it's free.
There's absolutely no reason that anyone should not have two-factor authentication. It really is important to cover yourself for whatever you're using, whether it be your emails, whether it be just apps that you use. Obviously, it's just giving you that extra layer of confidence and security, knowing that people can't just have your password, find your password, and gain access to important information. You'd be surprised probably how much, just by having your email password, how much someone has power over your online identity and your information, essentially. That's great. So is there another point to improve my online security that you want to cover?
Yeah, that basically also takes us to the second point, is that still these days a lot of people use the same password for each of their accounts. So that way, if one of their accounts gets compromised, for example, their email account, the attacker can use that password to basically access many of their accounts. So I always recommend to use unique and complex passwords for each of your accounts. And by complex, I mean do not use something like 1234 or I don't know, Titan ! That's not
EverRise
safe.
to the moon.
Exactly.
Something like that. I mean, would a password generator be something that you'd recommend? Because that's what I've used in the past. And password managers, is that something which you personally use or advocate?
Definitely. I definitely recommend using a password manager. And a password manager helps you to generate a strong and unique password, but also saves that password in a vault. And that vault is then protected by a master password that you come up with yourself, which of course needs to be secure and also protected by two-factor authentication. But it really makes life easier and more secure.
Excellent. Are we over the top three things now, or we got one more point to talk about?
Well, the last recommendation I would make when it comes to improving your online security, and this again is not limited to the crypto or DeFi space, is actually not a technical one, but it has to do with behavior. I always say, always maintain a healthy amount of skepticism. And this especially applies to people, whether it be actual people or online accounts, help desk accounts who appear to be very helpful and came out of nowhere. So always be skeptical and of course never share any of your credentials with strangers, but also do not allow strangers to interact with any of your accounts or devices if you're not supervising them.
Yeah, so that could be someone that's reaching out to you in a message in social media. I mean, I have received messages in the past of people saying that they just need to cover their gas fees. They want to buy EverRise or something like that. They don't have enough BNB and Smart Chain. Could I just send them over a little bit of Smart Chain? What red flag does that give to you as being in the security industry? Like, if you just had a random message from someone saying, would you be able to help me out covering my gas fee?
My first, let me say it like this: the thing with this crypto space, but also looking at the online world in just in a more general way, is that you don't know who is behind the account. Yeah? So because you don't know uh, who is actually controlling an account or who is actually the person sending a message, there's no way you can tell for sure that they can be trusted. So uh, my general way of operating is that if I see something like that, I just assume the worst. And in this case, I would delete the message or just ignore it.
Yeah.
And of
I think
course,
that's a really important thing. Very quickly, that's a really important sentence that you just said there. In that situation, I would assume the worst. It's better to assume the absolute worst case scenario that message is basically looking to find out your wallet address. Essentially, they want to know your identity. They want to find out, like, assume that person has an ill intention. Because why, like, especially if they're contacting you out of the blue, you have absolutely no idea who they are. You've never spoken to them before at all. That is a big red flag. Like, why are they messaging you particularly is the first thought. But yeah, definitely always be in the attitude that the person contacting you has got ill intentions, and that, you know, that the worst case scenario. I think that's a really important mindset to be in crypto, especially when the buck stops with you. Your decision is what will be the difference between, you know, potentially losing everything you have in your wallet, or just being able to, you know, being safe. That is a massive sentence what you just said there, and I just want to just make a point on that. That was really a really good way of looking at it.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's also important to realize that scammers, they know how to play your emotion. So the way our decision making works is that our emotional decision making may. Let me actually. Sorry, my computer is.
Yeah, I can understand what you're saying. So essentially, they will come up with some sort of a story. Maybe, you know, I've received messages about people who are desperate to pay. They one message I had not so long ago was their family needed food, and that you know, they lived in a third world country, and they weren't able to feed themselves, and would I be able to donate some B&B to help? And it literally, you know, you read through the message, it's been very carefully worded to appeal to your human element, where you're kind of compassion, you know, your empathy. But the truth of the matter is, you know, that 99% of the time, these are well-constructed messages that are aimed at getting people to feel bad and to donate. And that could just be a scam where they're just looking to pull lots of money from like lots of people together into a central wallet, or it could be worse than that. They could be looking to actually like match your person to a wallet address, and that's a big thing, right? Being able to match someone's identity, so to speak, to a wallet address.
It is because it's a privacy concern, but also it could be used in the future to run any like targeted phishing attacks.
Yeah.
So the more that attackers know of you, the more targeted they can make their attacks, and the more likely that you are falling for it.
Yeah. On a quick note, it just came into my mind right now. There are websites out there that give you like for example, I use Moonscan, which is a website that gives me reflection updates on certain tokens that I own. And there's also you know, Rise Reward, which is a really good website to check your investment of EverRise. They simply ask you for your receive address, or basically your address for your smart chain wallet. Is that something which is dangerous to give out to these websites? What's your personal opinion on that? Sharing your receive address to people.
I see. Yeah, so there's a security element to that, and there's a privacy element to that. So when it comes to security, it's perfectly fine to share your public wallet address with anyone, because they can only see the contents of your wallet, like anyone else on the internet who knows your wallet address, and that's not necessarily a security concern. When it comes to privacy, of course, a website that asks for your wallet address may be able to match your IP address with that wallet address. So whether that's a privacy concern for you or not, that depends, of course, on your own personal preferences. But a way to mitigate that is use a VPN.
Yes.
That way.
I mean, that's something which is being increasingly talked about, using VPNs, and they've become quite cheap now. You can get some really high quality VPN service providers for a fairly low monthly charge. I know that some antiviruses have got it built in as well. VPNs are something which, especially if you're doing crypto, it's almost like so it goes hand in hand almost with keeping yourself, your identity secret. But thank you for kind of covering that. I think we're moving on to the three most common scams that we see. So we've dealt with obviously the messaging for for seed phrases, for help desks and things like that. I just want to kind of I know that we're moving into topic 5, but I think in this sort of umbrella, I think that dusting is something which is talked about a lot in the community. In the crypto world, it's known quite well. But again, just want to kind of cover that to people that are watching this video that are not sure maybe what dusting is. So are you able to kind of give me an overview on that?
Yeah, definitely. So dusting attacks, how do they work? The way that dusting attacks are mostly executed is that a random token is sent to your wallet. So let's say that random token is baby safe Dionysus or something like that. And the most important thing to remember is that ignore all tokens that randomly pop in your wallet. Do not interact with them in any way. Do not try to swap or sell them. It is fine to hide them visually in your wallet, but do not touch them besides that. And what is the risk here, and how is the attack executed? So a random token pops into your wallet. You try to sell it or swap it on PancakeSwap, but at the moment you approve that token for sale, and remember that a token is essentially a smart contract. At that moment you approve the token for sale, your wallet will get drained because you are approving a smart contract that is malicious and that will drain your wallet as soon as you approve it. So it's actually quite easy to protect yourself against this by not touching any coins that are just appearing in your wallet without you buying it. So that's like the number the number one way I've seen dusting attacks occur, but there's actually a second one I've seen in the past, and this has to do more with privacy. So sometimes dusting attacks are carried out by sending legitimate coins into your wallet, which could be, for example, BNB. And then in the note of that transaction, it would say something like, I don't know, claim your 15 BNB by visiting www.wearebloodyscammers.com. And then when you visit this website, it can go multiple ways, right? It could just be a way of identifying the IP address behind your wallet. But in addition to being a privacy risk, it could also turn into a security risk if they then ask you to connect your wallet to that website. You do that, you approve something, and your wallet gets drained. So there's two types of dusting attacks. One is with obviously malicious shitcoins. And then the second one is the variant in which legitimate coins like BNB get dropped into your wallet. Transaction contains a memo with a link to a website. You visit that website. And then there could be a privacy or security risk there.
And we also found out another way that before going live here, we also discovered another way that people are dusting, almost by targeting people to actually essentially dust themselves, right? So they message. I've seen it actually in the last few days. Is what they do is in a public room they'll say, "Hey guys, I'm having a problem with my Trust wallet. It's giving me this seed phrase," and then they write down a 12-word or whatever, how many words seed phrase in that room. And if that's not dealt with by the mods, as soon as possible, someone might get that seed phrase and think, you know what, I'm gonna be horrible here. I'm gonna access that wallet, and almost like targets potential scammers to dust themselves by accessing that wallet. So someone sees the seed phrase in a PM or in an open forum. They access that wallet, they send the funds to their wallet, and then essentially they've got a potentially malicious smart contract accessing their wallet for dusting. So that is another way which these individuals are targeting people by their own greed, essentially.
Yeah, exactly, and that one actually surprised me, and this is one of the many examples that just demonstrate that these scammers are never sitting still. They are always developing new methods of scamming people. And
there are some very, very clever individuals out there, and your online privacy is so important, and there are always people out there that are looking to try and get an advantage. They're obviously, we're keeping up with making sure that their methods can be kind of prevented, but there will always be other methods that come about that we need to always be aware of. So I think the things to take away from this discussion is your online identity, how important it is to you, your IP address. Do you want to share that with websites when it comes to sharing your receive address for your BNB or for Binance? Things like that, your Binance address. Secondly, connecting your wallet. When you connect your wallet, do you have, do you know what website that is? And are you 100% sure it's the correct website? Have you gone to it through a Google search, or have you directly gone through the DApp in Trust Wallet? Another thing is obviously making sure that you have two-factor authentication enabled on your device, so that your passwords, if they were unfortunately to be compromised somehow, you've got an extra layer, an element of security there when people are looking to basically gain access. And it will also alert you to anyone trying to do so. Would it be your friends, your family, or wife, who might have your password, God forbid. And also the takeaway for me as well, I wanted to quickly ask you, is the transaction password, like the passcode on Trust Wallet, for example, I use that. Is that something that will prevent, God forbid, if I did go onto a website that connected my wallet, would they be able to do a transaction without that passcode? Would that passcode keep me safe is the question I'm asking you, because I genuinely am curious, because whenever I try to do a smart contract call, I need to put in that passcode to do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good question. I'm not familiar with the architecture behind Trust Wallet, but if I have to make a educated guess, I think what will happen in the background is that your private key, so the key that allows you to sign transactions, is protected by that passcode, is encrypted by that passcode. So,
Right.
In short, yes, it will most likely prevent malicious actors from signing transactions without your knowledge.
There we go. Trust Wallet users, get in your settings and activate your passcode for transactions straight away. That is my advice right now. That's one of the first things you should be doing. Like, get all these points, take them on board. Dionysus, thank you ever so much for spending time today to join me to talk about this. EverRise takes the security and confidence of of all of you very, very seriously. Like, for DeFi to succeed, we need to make sure that there's security in this space. And by getting across information and educating people, it's the first thing, that's almost like the forefront of doing that and ensuring that people are not falling victim to these scams. Dionysus, is there anything else that you wanted to kind of share before we end this?
I guess the only thing I wanted to say as a closing is that at EverRise we do a lot of things to keep you safe as an investor. And you see that in the products we are developing, such as EverOwn, EverLock, and EverWallet. But in the end, you have to keep yourself secure as well. And this is exactly the reason that we find it extremely important to educate all our investors on security. Because in the end, security is a collaboration between us and the community.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Dionysus, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Welcome. Thanks.